Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, breathing new life into a 100-year-old building in downtown Denton. It's a historical landmark. We'll share the story next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I'm kind of a history buff, and so I love all the wonderful history around Dallas-Fort Worth. And I didn't know about this project until our media partners at the DBJ featured on the front page of their publication a new project that is being developed in Denton, historic downtown Denton. And so I brought on 2 of the driving forces behind it. Jason Reimer, he's with the Texas Fine Arts Theater, and Brad Andrus, he's with Axis Realty Group. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here, yeah.
Awesome. Well, why don't we'll start with you, Brad. Axis has had this building for a long time. It's known as the Texas Theater, or people in Denton would know it by a bunch of different names.
Yeah, originally the Texas Theater, but really most Dentonites now, for many decades, would know it as the Fine Arts Theater, and so or Fine Arts. Fine farts, some might say. One side of the sign looks like the F is rolling into the arts, so we get that a lot. But no, Axis Realty was hired back in 2018, actually by the previous ownership group, to sell the property, and so we went through a marketing period, several months, and showed it to a lot of different people. Jason was one of the groups that we showed it to. He was always very interested in restoring, renovating the theater and bringing it back to life. And so we continued those discussions. At the time, I don't think he kind of felt like he could pull it off, and so we continued to show it to some other groups. And I remember one day in particular being at the front of the building and showing it to a guy that had come in from out of town and was looking at the building. We'd been inside, we'd come back out and was looking around the square, and he said something like, "You know what I don't see here on the square? I don't see a dollar store." And I thought, a dollar store? What do you mean? And he said, "Well, I think this could make maybe a good dollar store, some sort of retail," is kind of really what he had in mind, which there are a lot of good retail stores there on the square, but we really were hoping that we would find someone to restore. Sure. That's what the community, the city, just our citizens wanted. And so that's what we were hired to do at the time.
And Jason, how long have you known about this building?
I lived in Denton in the early 2000s through 2009. So just like lots of Dentonites, I drove by it all the time. So I've known about it for a really long time. And after I moved to Oak Cliff and met Barack Epstein and we got the Texas Theater going, we kind of kept in the loop of what was going on with it for all the years we were gone. So we tried at different times to interact with them. But they're really tough buildings to kind of just do something in. They're really expensive to operate, and they're old and tough to upkeep. So we just kind of touched base with them a lot with no direct contact really other than that.
Okay, more from Jason and Brad in a minute. We found a wonderful video on YouTube. Let's go ahead and roll that.
So the theater had undergone a lot of different identities. It had gone through a fire, and essentially the property's been vacant on the square since 1982.
We're kind of in the empty hollow, what's left of the theater after a very long trip. I mean, it had been around for almost over 100 years operating.
For 42 years, it sat vacant and just been that cultural, iconic building that if you look up Denton, you're probably going to find it. Yet the community's not been able to use it.
During that time, lots of people wanted to restore to get it back to normal movie theater. But as most people know, movie theaters have gone through a lot of ups and downs in the last several decades. So these old ones have really had a tough route unless you have some partners that really understand the business model of theaters, but also more importantly, understand old buildings and care about old buildings.
One day I remember one Saturday morning just having that thought, we've got to save this building. Alex Payne and I bought the Fine Arts building in 2018 with the idea of restoring it and bringing it back to life. We pretty quickly thereafter called Jason and Barack and told them that's what we wanted to do. They were all in and supportive of the idea as well.
When we met Brad and Alex, they seemed to already been getting the bug, as we like to refer to it, because most developers would not look at this as a feasible project to get involved with.
Their experience in Dallas, says, hey, this will work for sure in Denton, but the cost of the project is pretty steep. And so here now, a few weeks ago, officially, the city council voted unanimously to support the project.
The total project will be $9 million. The city is contributing $1.6 million total towards it, and that money is coming from the TERS district, which is the Downtown Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone. We want the square to have its unique identity. We want to have those strong anchors that promote tourism, and we don't want vacant buildings not being utilized on the square. I think another piece that really fit with the city on why this was a deal worth investing in is the developers are local. They had a proven history of doing quality development in Denton, and they really cared about the project. So it really speaks to their heart behind this project, which I think really helped get it over the finish line.
It took a little bit to get it to this stage, but we're pretty excited about what it could be in the future.
Wow. Okay, what's been the reaction from people in Denton to this project?
Oh, everyone's thrilled about it. It really is. I've been doing business in Denton for a long time, and frankly, it's not very often you get most everybody kind of on the same page on something here, but this has been one of those kind of projects. And so from the community to the city, all the staff there, it's been very exciting.
And Jason, when it's complete, and we're still a year away from that?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
What will it become?
I mean, it'll be similar to the Texas Theater for those people that know what that is. So it's mostly a movie theater, and it's kind of DNA. So we want to use the building what it was intended to be used for, but we give it some contemporary bells and whistles so it can be multi-use is what we refer to it. So live events, live comedy, live music, all kinds of community events, just so many more things that I could name just a few minutes, but it does a lot of things more than movies. Sure. But it's a community binding agent is what these buildings really are.
We're going to put the Dallas Business Journal photograph on the screen because this is what first drew me to this project. I'm sure, Brad, you probably have heard naysayers over the years. I mean, $9.5 million is a lot of money. Why are you so dedicated?
One interesting thing there, Jeff, is in the news story it showed $9 million, and I told the reporter $9.5 million. It's already climbed by $500,000 in the last 12 months. So it's what certainly one of the things that makes a project like this challenging is the overall cost. But it's hard to pin down anytime you get in an old historic building to kind of know all of the skeletons that are there, and kind of we've just uncovered some more recently, and so it's a very challenging project to make happen. But we're really thrilled to be a part of it. We do a lot of development work, commercial development work, and typically you're very well buttoned up on the front end of what your costs are, what the rent's going to be. This one's not quite that way. Sure. It's probably really the only time I can think of in my career where we've kind of gone in on something that, on the front end doesn't look like it's going to make much money, but it's a passion project. We believe that real estate, good real estate projects like this, catalyst projects like this happen with, from by local developers that really know and care and love, the city and the town that they're in. And so we happen to be Denton. There's guys in Dallas and other towns that care, more about where they are. But for us, Denton means everything. And so it's a passion project.
That's beautiful. We've got some pictures that we're going to show, and I'll have you, Jason, kind of share with us what we're looking at. So what's that first picture?
So this is when it was still a Texas theater. So we just looked this up. It's 1947 is what we think this picture is from, judging from the marquee. But this is the downtown square. And then this is Hitchcock. So this is 72. This would be after 57, though, is when it became the Fine Arts, and those two drama masks were put on there. And then this is kind of the interior of the theater until maybe the last decade or so, when it was in kind of bad shape. But those two drawings on the side that everyone thinks and talks a lot about were from local kids in Denton that put up these murals. As you can see, there's not much need for an elephant in Paris, but it's good for kids drawing to kind of do something fun and kind of weird and kooky, which is what Denton is kind of. That's what's charming about Denton. This is the main room as it is today. We've had to excavate out pretty much everything. There was just a lot of water damage, and we, for many, many years, Brad and his group have been trying to save these things as much as we can, but we basically had to go back to the beginning to kind of rebuild it back to what it was. So these are kind of some renderings we've done not too long ago about what we think it's going to look like for the most part. I'm kind of leaning into the Southwest for this kind of terracotta look inside to make it real warm and inviting. And then that's the marquee. It's been even updated a little bit more than this recently, but that's the Fine Arts on the square today.
And give me an idea, Brad, how much work goes into this, because I guess the bones, the structure itself is solid, but everything else has to...
Really, the structure was, very solid, very good. The roof wasn't. The roof was shot. I mean, when we were showing the property, if it was raining outside, it was raining inside. And so that's between the fire in the 80s and then and we give a lot of credit to the McBride family that they did some great things with that building. Primarily, they preserved, the facade. Sure. There were so many things going on, especially in the 70s, where people were taking down those old facades, covering them up with something else. And so to still have kind of the original facade, the original sign, even that original marquee is incredible. But and the four walls were in good shape, but the roof and everything else inside was a mess, really.
We should also point out that you don't just restore historic theaters. You have a long list of properties. We're going to show your website where there's a page that lists some of your properties. What kind of properties do you specialize in?
Well, this is our brokerage page, and so we do, in Denton, you've got to be kind of a generalist in brokerage. So we do a lot of office, industrial, retail, leasing, and sales brokerage. And then we also kind of in another hat where that we wear as a developer. It's we're mostly self-storage and kind of light industrial development.
Sure. And Denton's going crazy right now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Denton's a great market.
It's a wonderful market. Well, we've got a couple minutes left, so I want to give you both a chance to give final thoughts. We'll start with you, Jason.
Oh wow, final thoughts. It's no final thoughts. It's the beginning of a long process. So. As soon as we get the thing open and get it open to the community, I mean, that's what all I'm thinking about for the most part is just getting everyone on the same page and just getting through this process. We've never built a theater from scratch like this. We got lucky enough with the Texas Theater in Oak Cliff. It was already kind of established and we just tweaked it. So this is going to be a new process for us, but we think we're on the right track. We hope that people are excited about the community of Denton. We certainly care about it as both former Dentonites, Barack and myself. So that's kind of all we're thinking about right now is just what's going to be the next 14 months from now.
All right, Brad, we'll give you the final word.
Sure. Well, thank you for having us on. Really appreciate the publicity here. It is an exciting project for Denton, for us. I'm so thankful that we met Jason and Barack to partner with them. They're the brains behind what's going to happen in here. But I love when Jason talks about this being the community's venue or theater, or it's an opportunity for the community to say, this is what we'd like to see here. And so he can do a much better job talking about that, but that really resonated with me when we were having our original discussions, that it's not us forcing trying to cram down their throat what this is, but it's the community going to drive it. And so it really is going to mean a lot to everybody that has a business in town, especially those on the square, and we're hoping that it just lifts everything up even much more. So
yeah, I think it's going to be the pride of downtown Denton. So
Thank you.
Congratulations on your success, guys. We'll have to check in with you in a little bit. We're going to end with the website, which is axisrealty.biz. Jason and Brad, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.